26, or go to selectquote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-596-2626. 1-800-596-2626. Details on example rate at selectquote.com.
Hey guys, Jeffrey O'Brien here. Did you know Harman Solar has gone super high tech? There's an amazing tool at harmansolar.com that'll give you an instant ballpark solar estimate using satellites from space. You just type in a little information, and within seconds, you'll have an idea of just how little money it takes to save big on that monthly electric bill. I did it, and within seconds, they measured my roof and calculated my savings. It's very impressive. Go to harmansolar.com and give it a try yourself. That's harmansolar.com.
All right, so there we were, cruising through the new open-air zoo when I realized that the park was closing in like 15 minutes. That's when the afternoon took an exciting turn. Luckily, we were in my Nissan Rogue. With its powerful DC turbo engine, well, we had more than enough time to see all the animals. Whoa. And outrun a few.
Drive the Nissan Rogue. Now, Nissan offers 6 vehicles starting under $30,000 MSRP. Shop at your local Nissan store or at nissanusa.com. 2024 Nissan Altima, Kicks, Leaf, Rogue, Sentra, and Versa. All prices are manufacturer-suggested retail price. Manufacturer-suggested retail price excludes destination and handling charges, tax, title, license, and options. Dealer sets actual prices.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
Welcome back to Beat the Book. It is Thursday afternoon, and you know what that means. It is time for more NFL football. We've got the game right here on 1580 The Fanatic, right after the blender, right after this show. And what show is that? Well, you're listening to Beat the Book. We're broadcasting live from the Harman Solar Studios in sunny uptown Scottsdale. And today on the show, well, we're going to talk a little bit of football. I think you could have guessed that. But also, the Suns. They win again, 6 in a row for the Phoenix Suns. So we're going to talk about that, break that down a little bit. And, of course, you are on the text line. Some of you had bets yesterday. You talked about it a little bit. What happened to you? Did you win? Did you lose? And how did your teams do? We want to hear about all of that stuff right there from you on the text line, 888-368-1580. That's the Fanatic text line. But before we get to any and all of those things, Dylan, who powers the show?
We are sponsored by Sport Trade, and make sure you tune in to Beat the Book tomorrow because we will have Sport Trade CEO Alex Kane joining us here on the program to go over the next weekly Sport Trade contest, where the prize is a $100 Amazon gift card and $50 in cash sent directly to your Sport Trade account for you to be able to play some bets with. So if you haven't already set up your Sport Trade account, you want to make sure to have that ready because there's just going to be an extra prize in it for you if you happen to win the contest. So download Sport Trade today. Use promo code 1580 to take advantage of their 10% cashback promotion on first-time signups. And of course, if you do get that going today, you can use Sport Trade to, play sports bets, of course. But my favorite ability of it right now is just when you live bet through the app. There's no spinning wheels. They're going to take your bet seamlessly and instantly. They typically have better pricing than just about everyone else. If you find that there's another book that has a better price on something that you want to bet on, well, guess what? You can shoot Sport Trade a text. You can see if they're willing to match or beat it. And 99 times out of 100, they will do just that. I've yet to see a scenario where they say, nope, not willing to give you that price, not willing to work with you on this. That's just not the kind of book that they are. They want to be your partner in this sports betting experience. So don't miss out on leveraging Sport Trade for your sports betting. I happened to use it last night during that Suns game. And I opened up my app. It was late third quarter, and the Suns keep kind of doing this, and not to mean this as a knock on the Suns, but by the end of the third quarter, we just seem to find ourselves in a place where, we're down maybe 2 or 3 possessions. The game isn't out of hand by any means, but from a live betting perspective, it is the best opportunity for you to jump right into the game and try and get some action if, you're someone that thinks the Suns can come back when they're down by that amount. And that's exactly what I did yesterday. I opened up my sport trade. The Suns were priced at, I want to say it was around 40% implied probability. They were down about 9 points towards the end of the third. The odds I got were basically around like 1.5 to 1 payout. So I went in, I put my money down, and Kevin Durant put the cape on in the fourth quarter, came to save the day, saved the bet, got us the win, got the team a win. So just overall great experience. And there's no reason why, obviously you got to be 21 or older. But other than that, no reason why you can't, take part in, what Keon and I are doing over here with Sport Trade with some of the other sports books and, make some extra cash on the side. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, and it's been pretty fun. By the way, Golden Domer being way ahead of the class right here, already sending in his Cardinals win probability guess. So I see you, Golden Tomer. It's all written down. You don't have to do it today. Alex Kane will be on tomorrow, and we'll explain the rules in a little bit more detail at that point. But we want to get to a few things today because we had some NBA stuff last night. We'll get to the Suns in a second. But the Celtics and the Warriors, that was a game that we were talking about yesterday. Looked like it was going to be a very good game, an interesting game. And it turned out to be that, though it didn't go the way that we originally thought. What happened in that game, DC?
You know what? One team has a lot of depth right now. The other team does not. I think that's ultimately what we saw play out. The Warriors have been leveraging a roster going about 12 men deep right now. That's typically the lineup that Steve Kerr is running. And, if they ever have a night where, they don't have a Steph Curry or perhaps Draymond Green finds himself suspended, whatever the issue is, they have a next man up ready to go. And from the Celtics perspective, they are a bit shorthanded. They haven't had Kristaps Porzingis play yet this season. Jaylen Brown was not able to play last night. And, up front, it seemed like something that wasn't going to completely hold the Celtics back from winning the game. Derek White came out swinging, trying to pick up the slack for what they were missing on offense with Jaylen Brown not being there. He scored, I think he had like 12 points in the first quarter. He came out pretty hot. Jason Tatum kind of lagged a little bit in the first quarter, didn't start to put up points until kind of the end of it. And then his shooting did come through. I mean, he finished with 32 points. But the Warriors, they are a brand name in, playing a fast tempo and taking a lot of 3-pointers. They perfected that style of play within the NBA, which is really the way most teams aspire to play at this point. That's been the evolution of the game. So with that being said, they've got a guy coming off the bench for them right now. His name is Buddy Hield. This might be the best NBA situation that Buddy Hield has ever found himself in throughout his entire career. Like, just being able to be that guy that comes off the bench, he can still carve out a very big role for himself on offense, but he doesn't necessarily have the pressure of being that guy that, really has to kind of put the team on his shoulders every single night, where for the longest time in Indiana, he definitely had to do that.
In Sacramento, he had to do that too.
Yeah.
I think with Buddy, he's a role player. I think that's probably his best suited position on a team, is to not necessarily be one of the stars, but to be one of those guys that's maybe the next step down. Still important. Your basketball team needs those. You don't have Buddy Hield type players, you're not winning a title. And I think that for his role on the Warriors, that's what he can be, a high-end role player. And there's nothing wrong with that. And B, it's a spot he seems to be very comfortable in. And it shows in Golden State and their offense, especially when you take him and like you said, you add him to that second unit where you could kind of be the best player on the second unit, but not necessarily have to be the guy. And there are so many players that it's just hard to do that in the NBA because of how skilled the guys are and how incredible the athletes are at that level. What it takes to be that the guy is kind of just a full arsenal of abilities and moves. I don't know that Buddy has that, but what Buddy does well, he does incredibly well. And it starts with his ability to shoot the basketball.
So the Warriors played 11 players yesterday. The Celtics played only 9 players. And then keep in mind, the Celtics were also missing, a couple of guys that are normally featured in their starting lineup. So going back to this whole issue of depth, this game might serve as a bit of a red flag for the Celtics. You look at how they did last season. They had, the best home record in the NBA. This was a place where, if you had to go play them in Boston, you were very unlikely to walk away with a win. And in Boston's case right now, KP isn't coming back until around the new year. I'm sure Jaylen Brown's, injury is minor. It's not going to keep him out long. But you look at these guys that they're playing off the bench: Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, Peyton Pritchard, Jordan Walsh, and they need help. There is no one notable. There is no equivalent to, what the Warriors have in being able to bring a guy like Buddy Hield off the bench, being able to bring a guy like Jonathan Kuminga off the bench, even a Kevon Looney who's got championship experience, who, can still give you some quality minutes as a big man. Kevon Looney had 10 rebounds in 16 minutes last night. I'm just looking at this bench right now for the Celtics, and, Peyton Pritchard, I was definitely expecting him to do a bit more yesterday. He finished with 16 points, but he shot 3 out of 11 from 3-point. That's just not going to be enough to cut it. Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser, these guys do not contribute on both ends of the floor the way that some of these bench players on Golden State do.
Yeah, and they play a lot of minutes. Cornett played 15 minutes, something like that. Hauser played 21 minutes. To be a complete liability on one end of the floor and play for 20 minutes, that's how you lose basketball games. But it's not like he had a choice, Missoula. They kind of just aren't deep right now. Like you said, it's just we're witnessing a level where, like, the Celtics had a bunch of guys in double figures. They had a bunch of guys scoring decently well, but not on the bench. And, that's where they lost this game, it looks like.
You know who the Celtics could have used off the bench yesterday? Because I was just kind of thinking about this. They had picked up Lonnie Walker the fourth, like, over the kind of off season. I think it was like during their training camp.
Yeah.
And then for some reason they sent him out the door. I would have rather had Lonnie Walker come off the bench yesterday if I'm the Boston Celtics compared to either of those guys.
I don't know what they're doing from a front office perspective, where they've normally been really sound about decisions like that. But this particular season, this team does not look built to repeat from a depth perspective. Obviously, their starters are fine. And if, KP comes back and Jaylen comes back and that's their big three playing at a high level, that's going to be an insane team to beat. But I just wonder if you get late into the Eastern Conference playoffs, deep in that run, and your bench is still an issue. And say Kristaps Porzingis goes down again. That's not impossible. It happened last season. Do you have enough depth to make up for missing a guy like that, who could be missing, late in the year, in the same way that when you look at the Lakers, like, it's possible they could be missing Anthony Davis. What do they have as an answer to that? I don't know that this Celtics team has an answer to that.
Well, and to further that point with the Celtics, I think in their case, they can overcome missing a starting big man a lot better than they can overcome missing a starting guard. And if there was ever an injury to a Jrue Holiday, a Jaylen Brown, obviously a Derek White, a Jason Tatum, I don't know if they can really compensate for that the way that, they did in the finals with KP not being there for, most of the postseason run.
Because you can still lean on Horford to take that role and take that responsibility. He doesn't do it as well, but he's a high IQ basketball player that's really smart. And
you can have Tatum slide over to the 4.
Yeah, because he's big enough. Yeah.
So they've been able to play a certain way to overcome, not having a starter in, that front court, but it's those backcourt positions where, if something were to happen later on in the season, it could really shake up the entire Eastern Conference at that point.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So let's move on over to the Suns and the Heat. They played at the Footprint Center last night, and you kind of went over a little bit of the game flow earlier, and how you were able to make some money betting the Suns late when they're down in the third quarter, and then Kevin Durant does his thing, and now the Suns have won 6 in a row. What is the key to that for you?
It's Kevin Durant. I mean,
Yeah.
Kevin Durant is the common denominator. And I mean, you just look at like our most recent 3 games. The same thing seems to have happened each time. And that's either by the end of the third or at some point in the fourth quarter, things start to kind of get away from us a little bit. And it's not necessarily that, we're playing bad or we're in a funk, but it's just kind of the flow of the game, so to speak. We just keep finding ourselves in situations where, we had a big lead, then we lost it, or maybe it was tied for most of the game, and then we're falling behind a couple possessions, whatever it may be. And every single time, it feels like the same thing is happening. Kevin Durant is stepping up in these clutch moments, and he is the MVP of the team right now. The way that he is just seamlessly making contested mid-range shots that are all like isolation opportunities. There was not a single guy in the Heat last night, besides probably Bam Adebayo, that could have matched up with Kevin Durant. The Heat were very conservative about letting Adebayo switch on to Durant because obviously that's going to leave Nurkic pretty wide open. And we're going to talk about Nurkic in a second because he had a huge game. But with Durant, they basically had to live or die with Nikola Jovic trying to guard him because that was the next, person that kind of matched his height and his length and his athleticism. And Jovic could stay in front of him, but Durant can just give himself the space. When he's fading back, he kind of kicks the leg out a little bit. It's almost sort of borderline. Sometimes guys get called for offensive fouls when they do that, but Durant just knows how to kind of work that.
Yeah, and it's closer to the shot Dirk used to shoot. So
exactly.
As long as you don't actually hit the defender, which he doesn't, the leg goes out, but he never actually gets the defender with it, so he doesn't get called for anything. And yeah, once he leans back, unless your arms are as long as his or Wemby's, like you're not getting that shot.
It gives him just enough space to get that ball off, and it doesn't even matter if you're blocking his eyesight and he can't see the rim. It doesn't matter because the muscle memory is just there from so many years of doing this and being such a high level player. But we do need to shout out Jusuf Nurkic here. We've been a little harsh about Jusuf Nurkic on this show, and I don't regret criticizing someone that makes the kind of money that Jusuf Nurkic makes, that plays the kind of role that Jusuf Nurkic plays, if he's not bringing his best stuff to the court. And we weren't seeing that out of him over the first week or so of the season. And now it feels like Bud is starting to figure this out. The team is unlocking Nurkic within this new game plan that we have. And we're starting to see the fruit of that labor. Last night, Jusuf Nurkic scores 20 points, has 18 rebounds. He played for 33 minutes. He shot 75% from field goals. He shot 100% from 3.
Which is surprising given he's had some struggles earlier this year at that particular shooting range.
2 blocks, 1 steal. And by the way, one of those 3-pointers, which we watched the highlight of this, it was like a Damian Lillard 3-pointer. It wasn't like a normal right at the line.
Yeah, no, it was like a 32-footer.
So
it felt like
and we can't expect this kind of play out of Nurkic every single game, but the games where we do get this level of Nurkic, I don't know who can beat us. At that point, Kevin Durant and Booker, it's already a 2-headed monster. It overwhelms defenses. Then you've got Bradley Beal kind of hanging out, in the corner, somewhere for a long distance 3. He's nailing those. But now you pepper in this whole dynamic of a dominant Nurkic who, it gives you guys the freedom to take these shots. Because if you're missing them, guess what? Nurkic is giving himself a good chance to grab an offensive rebound, to put it right back in, to get fouled and go to the line. He was able to get 6 foul shots yesterday in addition to, all that.
And a lot of that was involved in his double-double, the 18 rebounds that he was able to grab. Some of those were grab the rebound and then go back up. And the going back up is where he was able to force Miami to foul him, essentially. Sir drives a lot, hitting the nail on the head right now. He said if Nurk is going to be hitting 25-footers like that, it's a wrap. And it does feel like that because I don't know how you defend this team if Nurkic is now an actual offensive factor. Because it's not just his ability to shoot from three. He's also a really good mid-range shooter too. And he operates really well around the basket. He's going to make defenders follow him out. And the space is going to be there for everybody else. And we saw it. You know, Nurkic and Booker had like a two-man game going. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, because Booker would like do a pump fake. He'd start to drive towards the basket. The defense collapses on him. Nurkic then goes to the hoop. And there's either one guy behind Nurkic or there's just literally no one on him. You know, quick little easy pass, 2 points, automatic.
It's simple, but that's only because everybody I think knows what their job is and is finally hitting it at a really high level. And I also just think that there are guys that know, okay, like I'm not going to shoot the ball 20 times today. I'm going to take a little bit of a step back. There's a little bit of a step back for Bradley Beal, almost as though he knew, hey, look, Nurkic is cooking a little bit. Let's go ahead and get him more of the touches. And that's unselfish basketball.
Well, and then outside of everything that we've already talked about here, we got an additional 7 3-pointers off the bench between Royce O'Neal, Ryan Dunn, and Grayson Allen. So that's an extra 21 points, you know, from long distance from 3 guys that played, you know, 23 minutes or less in the game. Those are big contributions. You know, Royce O'Neal, 50% from 3, Ryan Dunn, 100% from 3, Grayson Allen, 33% from 3. So, you know, if we get those extra 3-point shots from the bench that are forcing the defense to spread out and have to cover the perimeter, it's just keeping the mid-range open. It's keeping those easy layups open, you know, for any kind of fast breaks that we find ourselves in. So keeping the volume of 3-point shots up is huge. Obviously, converting those is going to be huge. But right now, this team is just firing on all cylinders. And, you know, they play next tomorrow night, games in Dallas. It's going to be second game against Luka. And, you know, obviously that's a rivalry that's been growing over the last few years. So we got the job done the last time we played them. It's going to be really exciting to see them run that back. Hopefully Nurkic is bringing this, you know, level of himself into that game, because I don't think we quite had that the last time that we played Dallas, and Luka had a 40-point game and we still won. So, you know, if this is the Nurkic we get tomorrow night, I don't see any reason why we don't just blow out Dallas, you know, win by at least 10 points.
I tend to agree with you on that. The Suns in cruise control right now, and they look very, very dominant. So we're going to shift some gears here and move on to Monday Night Football Thursday Night Football. Wrong day of the week. I need a cup of coffee. So when I get my cup of coffee, we're going to talk about Thursday Night Football. We've got Ravens. We've got Bengals. That's coming up right here on the big station, 1580 The Fanatic, right after the Daily Blender, right after this show, coming up next, right here on Beat the Book.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. And see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona. Terms and conditions apply.
Direct savings and client focus, the cornerstones of the Diamond Dave philosophy.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dave Cantor. My team and I at Desert Wholesale Diamond can be your trusted friends with an inside scoop on the diamond world.
Just like they are to thousands of people around the world.
And just like we have been for over 34 years.
At Diamond Dave's, it's all about the diamonds and the savings, not paying for high-end retail locations or the overhead of a mall.
You stand to save big time with our by appointment professional office approach combined with direct importing.
When you choose Diamond Dave's, you choose huge savings, top quality, and excellent service. Call, email, or message us for an in-person appointment.
Or sit back and relax for free FedEx shipping anywhere in the USA.
Call Diamond Dave at 480-397-2450. That's 480-397-2450. Or follow him on Instagram at Diamond Dave Cantor. That's at Diamond Dave, Kantor.
Mommy, want to play a game with me and Dad?
Mommy's not feeling good.
You need to vaporize that cold.
Vaporize?
Yeah, with DayQuil VapoCool. It's DayQuil plus a rush of Vicks vapors.
Whoa.
Come on, honey. Let's let mommy rest.
You guys are amazing. And so is DayQuil VapoCool.
DayQuil VapoCool, the vaporizing daytime coughing, aching, fever, power through your day medicine. And to vaporize sore throat pain, try Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
It's the sound of the fight songs, the excitement of the rivalries. It's the unbelievable upsets. It's the Heisman hopefuls. It's the national rankings. College football is coming. Listen for it on 1580 and 99.3, The Fanatic.
Money all the way.
Tonight's an AFC North matchup. Those are always great games, great matchups. We got the Bengals, we got the Ravens. Those are two teams that are trying to go to the playoffs this year. And there's going to probably be an AFC title game in the future of one of these teams. And seeding is going to be a huge part of it. This game matters a lot. There's a lot on the line. We got a shootout the last time these two teams played. And we were kind of disagreeing a little bit before the show as to whether or not that was something that could happen again, whether we could get another shootout. I happen to think that we might, just because I didn't see any improvement from either of these defenses. But also, when you look at teams, they play a second time in a season, the game does tend to be lower scoring. So could kind of go either way.
It's hard for me to explain. I'm just feeling a bit skeptical about this one because I mean, if you just look at it on paper and you focus on the numbers and the analytics and the trends, like everything is really pointing towards shootout. Everything is pointing towards lots of points, no defense, back and forth. Like that is the way that I want to bet this one. I think part of it for me, and I know Keon with how you like to, kind of analyze these things, and I'll be the first to admit it, like what I'm about to say here, it's completely irrelevant, but I had some bad experiences lately trying to take quarterbacks getting reasonable amounts of passing yards, and like they're just disappointing badly. Baker Mayfield couldn't even get over 200 passing yards against the Buccaneers this past Monday, and that was supposed to be kind of a similar dynamic. Not a whole lot of defense, a lot of passing, a lot of scoring, and we did kind of get that in that game. But
we did.
There
and that's against the Chiefs defense that I think is actually really good.
Well, so then even going back another night, Sunday Night Football, I happened to be on Joe Flacco for the Colts to get, some passing yards. And that was one where he just like largely underwhelmed. So, again, these are completely isolated other games happening in a vacuum, separate from what we're talking about right now. It really shouldn't impact one thing or the other. I just feel like I keep watching these primetime matchups where, there's a quarterback involved that should be able to get 300 plus passing yards per se, whether you're Baker, whether you're Joe Flacco, whether you're Joe Burrow, or perhaps even Lamar Jackson here. And I don't know, like there's just something that feels like you're going to get disappointed again. And
look, it may be the case. Baker's cocky hen says Lamar in prime time, always a chance to see brown pants in action. I don't understand the point of like bringing that up every time. Lamar, that happened once like 3 years ago. Why are we still talking about that?
Did he have a Paul Pierce moment?
I don't think he did. He ran to the locker room. He just said he had to go. I'm pretty sure there was some number 2 involved, but it's not like he didn't get on a wheelchair and get stretchered off. He just ran.
Paul Pierce will always have like the greatest
example
of that.
You could not have waterboarded that out of me. I would never have admitted that in 1,500 years. I don't care how long I would have lived. You could not have gotten that information out of me. I would rather people just believe that I was dramatic and wanted to be hauled off in a wheelchair. There's no way. There's no way. I can't believe he admitted that. Anyway, Sir Drives a Lot says sometimes you gotta poo. Sometimes you gotta. What's the problem there?
We're all human, man.
Baker's head cocky hand says because he crapped his pants and still came back and beat my Browns. We will never forget that. All right, fair enough. All right, whatever. So, look, it happens. All right, and he didn't crap his pants. He ran to the bathroom. I don't remember there being any streaks or any such things because I feel like that picture would never leave the internet if we had photo evidence that occurred.
There might be odds on this on like Kalshi.
I'm sure.
This is the world we live in now, man.
But I do seriously. I mean, I don't know. We saw some of like the Kamala concession speech.
Oh my
odds
gosh.
out there the other day, and it was just
You
disappointing.
could bet on the words she was going to say.
The amount of times she said America in her concession speech. It's some of that stuff is just scam stuff. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. We have the Ravens and the Bengals. And when I look at these teams, virtually nothing has changed between their first matchup and their second matchup. The Bengals were kind of stuck in neutral around that time, but they were just starting to get their offense to life. And honestly, you could make the argument that game was the game that kick-started it. They went to overtime, and the Ravens were able to squeak out a victory there. The Ravens tend to give up a lot of points to teams that know them well. They gave up a lot of points to the Browns, and the games that they lost, even when their defense wasn't playing well, the offense was still moving the ball pretty well and scoring. So I don't see the Ravens slowing down because I haven't seen the team that slowed them down offensively. Even the games that they've lost because their defense can't stop anybody. And I would make the same argument for the Bengals, which is why it still feels very high scoring to me.
Well, and that last game that the Ravens and the Bengals played, it was back on October 6th. The game was in Cincinnati. It ended up going to overtime. The Ravens won in overtime, 41-38. So you had 79 total points scored. Now, since then, each of these teams has a 3-1 record since that game. And ironically, last week, they both happened to score 41 points in their respective victories. So the offenses seem like they're still sharp. They're still able to get the ball in the end zone. They're still able to put up points. So, thinking about the total, the over, the under, for as skeptical, I guess, as I am, it does, to your point, Keon, really seem like from an offensive perspective, not a whole lot has changed. From a defensive perspective, I mean, it doesn't look like the Ravens have got any tighter per se, since a month ago. They win by outscoring the other team that they play.
The Ravens defense, and I couldn't believe this, and I'm looking at it right now and I can't believe it. They're the 32nd ranked pass defense. They're dead last in the National Football League at stopping people throwing the ball downfield. It's so weird to associate that with the Ravens, but they have had injuries all year long. I don't know that that's getting any healthier. And as if you have that and Jamar Chase is coming to town, I don't know what to say about you, except that you're in trouble.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're looking at the betting market right now, we're looking at like quarterback passing yards. You've got Lamar Jackson. His line on FanDuel is at over under 238.5 passing yards. Joe Burrow is sitting at over under 268.5. And, going back to your point about, Ravens having the worst passing defense in the NFL. And then, looking at where Joe Burrow's line is, you'd be reasonable to think that Joe Burrow's going to have probably a pretty good passing game today. He put up 392 passing yards against the Ravens in that game back on October 6th. Since then, he has not been able to get more than 251 passing yards, which is exactly what he got last week against the Las Vegas Raiders. So kind of a cause for concern, but at the end of the day, there should be a correlation between Joe Burrow, good passing quarterback, facing 32nd ranked passing defense in the NFL. Like that should equate to him being able to do something substantial. However, this was the exact thinking that I had behind backing Joe Flacco last Sunday and
Yeah.
backing Baker Mayfield on Monday. So that's where, at least for me, I kind of pause a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're dealing with a defense that's a bad passing defense, it's a little weird to kind of isolate those stats a little bit because it is part of a larger game plan. Baker, you might have picked Baker, but it's the Chiefs' passing defense is actually really good. I don't know how many yards they allow. Like, I don't know where they're ranked in everything, but I know that they've got 3 corners that could be number 1 options on any other team. They have 3 of those guys. That's insane. And it makes it difficult for anybody to win one-on-one matchups against them. And Baker didn't have Mike Evans and he didn't have Chris Godwin. And so it's just to me, that seems to be the reason why it didn't quite hit. Where the Ravens, they are genuinely, they don't stop anybody. And when Gardner Minshew goes off against you and when Jameis Winston goes off against you, I have serious concerns, especially against the Ravens defense that is doing everything else well. I've never seen this on a team either. They're the number 1 rushing defense.
So
you can't run on them, but you can throw all day.
Right. And going back to how, you should think about trying to bet this, where I saw more value in, trying to bet on a quarterback's passing yards, it was actually for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, if you look at his last 5 games, he's thrown for 280 passing yards or more in all 5 of those games. So he's definitely been a lot more consistent. Going back to that last game against the Bengals, that was a game where he did throw for 348 passing yards. Also keep in mind, that game did go into overtime. So, there's no guarantee that they're going to have as much time to be able to rack up the passing yards this time around compared to last time. But even with that being said, Lamar had 323 at home against the Washington Commanders. He had 281 against the Buccaneers, 289 against the Browns, 280 just this past Sunday against the Broncos. So, with his line sitting at 238.5, and this Bengals passing defense not really being that stellar themselves, immediately right at the line, you'd probably be leaning towards the over. But even if you wanted to get more conservative with it, 225 plus passing yards on an alternate line at minus 168 odds. That's actually something that I did post on the Beat the Book website with the other 10 bets to make for today. That seems reasonable, right? 225 for Lamar?
Yeah. That's a fair, solid amount of yards, and I think he's going to hit it pretty easily. This is a middle of the pack Bengals defense. It's not bad, but it's not great, and they are going up against the Ravens, who are the number 1 rushing offense in football and the number 4 passing offense. These guys have the most well-rounded offense in the sport, it feels like, and it shows. And I think that because of their versatility and the number of different ways that they can beat you. And you'll hear NFL coaches all across the league talk about how important it is to have explosives, the 20, 25 plus yard plays that you pick up over the course of a game. And the Ravens are one of the league leaders in that category as well. And a lot of that is through the air. The connection with Zay Flowers is obviously a really big one that Lamar has, but also the tight ends coming to life, Mark Andrews, that connection as well. This is a game where if Lamar Jackson doesn't crack 200, I'd be stunned.
So wanted to actually run a very specific scenario by you because this is something that's been kind of in the back of my mind. I wasn't really too worried about it, but the more we talk up this Ravens offense, it does have me a little bit concerned. Do you see potential for Ravens to rush out to an early lead and then this turns into kind of a run it most of the time game manager kind of a game from Lamar Jackson? Because that's the scenario that scares me out of the passing yards play is, Ravens go up 2 scores quick. And then this just turns into the Derrick Henry show where, it's very heavy run game and it's just more about running out the clock.
Yeah. And that can happen as well. It's when you're, again, the number 1 rushing offense, that's in fact what the Ravens would like to do more than anything else, is run the football and establish that early. And they're the kind of team where if they get in front of you, they just stay in front of you. And part of that is the clock's always running when they have the ball and they start using first downs to just make sure that the chains keep moving.
So this is kind of interesting. Going back to how Derrick Henry performed in that last game against the Bengals, he did manage 92 rushing yards, but he only had 15 carries. Is he going to get, say 23 carries, which he had last week against the Broncos? That game was more of a blowout where, it was that scenario that I'm foreshadowing here, where it was more about, just trying to let the clock run out. Ironically, Lamar still throws for 280 passing yards in that game. So perhaps there's a way where you can kind of get the best of both worlds here. Derrick Henry, his line on rushing right now on FanDuel, it's sitting at 88.5. So, 4 out of his last 5 games, he's gone for 90 or more rushing yards. If you're someone that thinks Derrick Henry is going to consistently get those carries, you're probably going to want to hit the over on that prop.
Especially if you think the Ravens are going to get in front. Because the reason why he only had the 15 carries the last game was they fell behind early. And then they had to start throwing the ball. By the way, in that game, Lamar Jackson's 348 yards passing and Joe Burrow, 392.
So that's where, it's tough. I feel like I'm being pulled in opposite directions.
Yeah.
There's different angles you can take to this. But, at the same time, there might be some way to kind of thread the needle there of, Derrick Henry, 90 plus rushing yards, Lamar Jackson, 275 plus passing yards. And then I would probably even go as far as to do some kind of Derrick Henry, maybe, carries prop, see how many like attempts at least that he gets. That might be kind of the way to go to give yourself a higher payout there. But Lamar Jackson, 275 plus passing yards. That's currently paying a little bit over 2-1 on FanDuel. So, if you're someone that thinks he could just continue to stay the course, he's got 5 straight games of 280 or more. Why wouldn't he be able to get 275? Then that might be the prop bet to play for you. That's actually a prop that I did include in the long shot parlay for today. So that's a good one to add if you're looking to try and boost your payout there, if you're trying to make a parlay for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a really good place to start. And again, it just depends on your angle, right? Like if you believe that the Ravens and the Bengals are going to score a lot, then there's a lot of these props where just the over is just the wise thing to do, because if it's going to be a big scoring game, the usual suspects are probably going to be involved. Derrick Henry's going to be involved. Lamar is going to be involved. Joe Burrow is going to be involved. Jamar Chase is going to be involved. Perhaps a Mark Andrews sighting. And the thing that I think is kind of interesting in this one, Khalil Herbert, the new Bengals running back, for a team that is the 27th rushing team in the NFL, Khalil Herbert might offer a little bit more relief. I think maybe they're going to try and get him involved early in the game, though it's against this Ravens defense. So I don't know if we're going to see the best of Khalil Herbert today, if in fact we see it.
I just happened to check out the touchdown scores market, and Derrick Henry's odds for an anytime touchdown. I don't think I've seen odds like this since like peak Christian McCaffrey. On FanDuel for an anytime touchdown, Derrick Henry is currently paying minus 260. I mean,
there's nothing to gain there.
Well, he's on like what is it? It's like a 10 game
something like
something along those lines. So I mean,
if the Ravens end up inside the 10, Derrick Henry scores the touchdown. That's almost how it completely goes. It's either him or Lamar, but the run game is usually where the Ravens go, and their offensive line is good, but it's more geared towards run blocking than pass protection. So they love it when they wind up inside the 15, inside the 10, and they can just give the ball to the beast and just let him get in the end zone. And he usually does, which is why you've got the minus 260 there. I'm guessing.
That's, yeah, as I say, that is rare. Like you really have to be like a stud running back to be priced like that on an anytime touchdown. I mean,
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, who in his own right, he's got 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games, minus 120 anytime touchdown, which that in itself is like, okay, so, they see him as pretty much a shoe-in for a touchdown. The minus 260, that's like, okay, this is absolutely happening.
Yeah, they're just, I don't know if you put that in the sport trade odds calculator, what they're saying that's going to be, but very high would be my guess. While you're looking that up, Dylan, Baker's cocky heads on the text line. Look, Baker's cocky heads. I am telling you this now because I care about you, and I also care about the quality of this show. This is your third Lamar Jackson-based poop joke. This is the last one I will be reading today. Just so you know. He says, look at this epic writing. Facing a 4th and 5 with its season on the line, Pooperman emerged from the Baltimore tunnel, grabbed his helmet, and stepped back onto the field for a little bit of Lamar magic. That's the last poop joke I am reading from you today, sir. That's the last one. That we can't do an entire show of Lamar Jackson-based poop jokes. We just are not the blender, which it would welcome this actually. But thanks for texting into
You've got like another 17 minutes. Just hold on to that.
Yeah, just hold on to that. The clock is going to strike 3. Sir Drives a Lot. I have already made this abundantly clear. I am not reading any more poop-based Lamar Jackson jokes.
Minus 260. That's a little bit over 72% likelihood.
So that's how
I think that's fair.
That's probably, it is fair. Derrick Henry has done nothing but get into the end zone when they're inside the red zone area. Sir Drives a Lot, thanks for texting. I'm not reading any more poop jokes based around that man. I'm sorry. I just am not that interested in doing it. All right. We've got some props to talk about tonight, not just the Thursday night football stuff, but we got some NBA stuff too. We'll throw it at you. Coming up next, right here on Beat the Book on 1580, The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
It's fall football season, and Kasai Japanese Steakhouse is doubling down. Now with 2 Valley locations. When it comes to Asian cuisine, no one does it better and more authentic than Kasai, where talented Teppan chefs create the food, the fire, and the fun of teppanyaki. Kasai Japanese Steakhouse isn't just dinner, it's dinnertainment. A memorable dining experience where a delicious 7-course meal is paired right at your table with flair. It's a perfect choice for celebrations, date nights, or a night on the town. Choose from over 30 different items and combinations of teppanyaki, Asian fusion, and innovative sushi. Happy hour is always on fire and offered daily with specials on their Asian-inspired comfort food like Korean steak tacos, Mongolian barbecue ribs, and signature Wagyu beef sliders. Always a memorable dinner, or catch the game and a bite at the bar at Kasai. Now with 2 locations, Scottsdale Road in Thunderbird and in Peoria at the 101 in Northern. Go to KasaiTeppan.com. That's KASAI Teppan.com, or search Kasai on your mobile phone.
Wendy's breakfast burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh cracked American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the second bite is like fresh cracked American cheese sauce. Bacon. You get the idea. And now get yours with $1 any size soft drink. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Exclusions apply.
Let's say you've got questions. You're looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Well, Harman Solar has the answers. Hi, I'm Jeffrey O'Brien, and listen, there's a couple of ways you can go here. 1, visit harmansolar.com, browse around, because right across the page, they got links to all sorts of great information, like frequently asked questions, equipment, tax credits, even testimonials. Or just give them a call. 800-281-3189. Ask them directly. They'd love to hear from you. That's 800-281-3189. Or just go to harmansolar.com.
Head coach Bobby Hurley and Sun Devil men's basketball are ready to join the Big 12 Conference. This season, the Sun Devils host conference foes Baylor, Iowa State, Arizona, TCU, and Houston, all at Desert Financial Arena.
And another steal ahead to Miller. And Miller reverses it up and in. And he's fouled. Holy moly.
Join the action and get your Sun Devil men's basketball tickets today by calling 480-727-0000 or go online to sundeviltickets.com.
Now open in Scottsdale. It's United Forte Custom Door Showroom with 40,000 Euro doors and hundreds of state-of-the-art designs and finishes on display, plus kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and more, all at wholesale prices. Builders, contractors, designers, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hidden Loop. That's United Forte, P-O-R-T-E. Stop by to see and feel the quality. United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
1580 The Fanatic and at 1580thefanatic.com.
Your home for sports.
So we've got some Cardinals believers here on the text line. Our weekly Cardinals halftime prediction contest. We could probably come up with a name for that. That's a little less worthy.
Yeah, we'll
workshop.
We'll figure that out.
We'll workshop it. But either way, we've already got some of those guesses coming in early. You don't have to have those guesses in until, well, you have up until Cardinals kickoff to get those guesses in. A lot of those guesses usually come in on Friday when we have Sport Trade CEO Alex Kane on the show to kind of give us the rundown on the contest and some other things that are happening around the Sport Trade app, as well as they continue to roll out various features right here in the state of Arizona. But thank you, Bat Flipper, for sending in that guess. And we'll move on because we've got some picks tonight, Dylan. Obviously, we talked about some of the ones based around primetime football tonight. Anything else that stood out to you in that game before we kind of talked about anything else?
Definitely taking advantage on the Bengals side. However many passing yards Joe Burrow gets, who knows? But I mean, you can count on them leaning on the passing game, just considering, where the Ravens struggle on the defensive end. So anytime touchdown, Jamar Chase, at -120, definitely like him to score at least one touchdown. I believe he had 2 touchdowns in that last game against the Ravens just a month ago. Outside of that, and again, I mean, there's a little bit of internal struggle over this, but with how much both of these offenses score, with how many points that were scored last time, you can look to play the over on the total points. The line was sitting at around 52.5 on the Beat the Books site. I put up an alternate over of 49.5, so they just have to get to 50 between both teams. Doesn't seem like that's asking for too much, considering they put up 79 points in that last game. And then there are some more picks that I posted. You'll have to check out the Beat the Book website to see what those are for the NFL game. You can get to the Beat the Book website by following me on Instagram. The account is at Beat the Book Fanatic, all spelled out. You just click the link in the bio. That'll take you right to the Beat the Book page. So that way you can see what those bets are. You can also visit 1580thefanatic.com. Scroll down, click on the Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen logo. That'll take you right to the same place so you can see all of these picks. Now, jumping over to the NBA, it's a smaller slate tonight, only 3 games, but there's definitely still some opportunity here. I did start a podcast recently where I filter all of what I believe are my best NBA picks onto the podcast. So it's called 6 Point Play with Dylan Cohen. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple. Just search it. You'll find it. Give it a follow. Check it out. It's very quick, about 10-minute episodes. And I just run through everything pretty quickly. So it doesn't take up too much of your time. And then there are some extra plays on that Beat the Book website. I'm going to focus a bit on this Portland Trailblazers and San Antonio Spurs matchup. This is a game between 2 of the kind of bottom of the barrel NBA teams, so to speak. The Spurs are a 4-point favorite. They are playing at home. And outside of having the home court advantage, there really isn't much going on to justify them being considered such a large favorite in this game. The Spurs are missing Devin Vassell still, who's, their second best player besides Wemby. And then they are without Jeremy Sochan, who just recently got injured. He's going to be missing quite a bit of time for them. And that is someone that carried a huge playmaking load for the team. He was averaging roughly around 16, 17 points per game. So to try and make up for that contribution is already going to be difficult. Then the Spurs, lost Greg Popovich for, an indefinite period of time. Yeah. So, hopefully Pop gets better and they can get him back on the court, because they're certainly, a better team when he's around. But other than that, I mean, you look at these two teams and Portland's just got more talent. And, right now with the records, they're both sitting at 3-5. But Portland has just been a bit more competitive, where the Spurs, they're just not challenging as much in these games. They are coming off a 27-point loss to the Houston Rockets. They lost by 9 to the Los Angeles Clippers before that. And just looking at some team stats right now, the San Antonio Spurs are the worst offensive team in the NBA. They are all the way at the very bottom. They average about 104 points per game on offense. Meanwhile, the Portland Trailblazers, they are also towards the bottom on that list, but they do a bit better than the Spurs. They play better defense than the Spurs. And I mean, you look at who's actually going to play in this game for Portland. Anthony Simons is going to go. Jeremy Grant is going to go. DeAndre Ayton's going to play. They've got Denny Avdia. They've got Tumani Kamara. So it's just a much more veteran, talented lineup right now, even with Wemby and Chris Paul on the other side. Back the Blazers as an underdog on the money line. They have a very good shot at winning this game. And check out the Beat the Book website for the rest of those NBA picks, as well as the picks for the Thursday night football game tonight.
And also you've got the long shot parlay up there as well, which you know, I mean,
we're going to get that. I know we're going to get that.
We had a good one last night, and then Jalen Duren gets injured.
I mean, you can't script that stuff.
Yeah,
that's one of the worst ways to lose a bet.
Yeah, but look, he was the first leg of the parlay, so at least you knew early it's not going to happen. If Jalen Duren went last, I don't think I'd have come into work today. I might have still been at my house crying into my pillow. So anyway, we are wrapping up the show today. That's going to do it for us. Thanks to everybody on the text line that jumped on today. Baker's Cocky Hens, Sir Drives a Lot, Golden Domer. We'll see you guys tomorrow right here on Beat the Book.
Savings and client focus, the cornerstones of the Diamond Dave philosophy.
Hi, I'm Diamond Dave Cantor. My team and